provider, Title I coordinator. She even was a principal of a school for a short stint. Currently, she's pursuing her doctorate in education leadership, and she is my director of programs. She is one of my board members, so she's special. So, thank you again, Ms. Blackshire, for being our moderator. So we have Maria Bedoya. We met in school, we were classmates. We became really good friends and we work in the same space. They'll tell you about themselves a little bit more. Right now she runs her own private practice as a licensed mental health counselor, working with specifically women. It's called Empowered Women LLC. Maria, wave. Awesome. Dr. Renee Golden Clark, I just recently met her. She came highly recommended. Excuse me. She is a distinguished healthcare leader from Jamaica, and she has expertise in labor delivery, and she is an academic, so she does publish her work, and she works in primary care. So she is our health expert in the room. Wave. And again, they will properly introduce themselves. Alex, he's a screenwriter, a director. Yes, he's coming in from that perspective, and a producer. He also does a lot of work with educators and youth, helping them converse about these types of topics and create spaces for them to share their own experiences. So thank you for being here, Alex. Pete Kennedy, my brother from another mother, for real, for real, for real. We met years ago, and again, we became fast friends, and we are definitely committed to the work of empowering our young people and healing homes and families. And I love this guy like he was my blood brother, and I'm so glad you accepted being here today. Mario Valson, I just met him today. He is a distinguished young man in the counseling world. He has a master's in clinical mental health counseling, and he works with at-risk youth in the Miami Gardens community. So here is Mr. Mario. And who did I miss? Oh, so I just met Dory today, too. She is a peer counselor here, youth peer specialist here, and she has survived issues of teen dating violence. So we wanted a teen voice on the stage. My other teen voice that was supposed to be here decided to go to work. I'll deal with him when I get home. So I'm so glad that Dory stepped up to the plate and is here to speak. And then I have two distinguished officers from the Hollywood Police Department that I got their lieutenant to drag them in over here today. So thank you all for coming. They'll introduce themselves. So I'm going to pass the mic to Ms. Blackshire, and then you guys can speak up. The mic will catch you, and you can share as she prompts you to share. Okay? So let's start our panel discussion. You could introduce the panel discussion topic.
Welcome, 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 everyone. We are very, very grateful that you took the time Saturday. On your Saturday, you could have been doing anything else, but you decided that this forum was something that needed to be heard, and we do appreciate it. Teen Dating Violence Summit is an awesome opportunity to learn the fine nuances that we sometimes overlook when it comes to our teens. And we have a wonderful panel of experts who will be able to share some life experiences, some knowledge that we can all benefit from. One of the things that I want to open with is I would like the panelists to just give us maybe one or two brief details that stands out for them and explains their why they feel it is necessary to be a part of this summit and why it is important for them. So let's start with the first panelist.
Okay. I think why is that no matter what the situation is, whether it's intimate partner violence, teen dating violence, anxiety, depression, bipolar, so on and so forth, the research shows across the board the community is a large factor in reaching the state of wellness, of resilience, right? Getting past whatever the ordeal is. So I think that's the why. The why is when we do it together, when we have the information, when we're trained, when we have resources, we have more opportunities to help those in need.
Thank you. My next panelist.
So, with over 320,000 women who are pregnant each year, being someone who will have issues with domestic violence in pregnancy, that is my why. It is my why to educate individuals around, because we have lots of pregnant people in our family. And we want to cue you in on some things that you can do, even from your space, to notice these silent triggers, these silent red flags. So that is my why. Women's health and providing the community with some information on how to address those concerns in your family.
Thank you. And our next panelist.
All right, Maria Bedoya again, my why. So I'm Latina. My parents migrated here when I was 3 years old, so I was undocumented. I'm a dreamer, survivor of domestic violence in the household, and also teen and young adult dating violence. And so part of my journey as a licensed mental health counselor is my interior healing. And so in that process, I've been a therapist for now 13 years. It feels like just yesterday. And that's why I created Empowered Women, so we can share that awareness within our communities, because it's not spoken about as often.
Thank you. Our next panelist.
Good afternoon. Where are all the youth gone? I saw a whole bunch of youth and I don't see them.
They had to leave because
Okay,
their
just wondering.
Saturday program ends at a certain time.
Okay, I just wondered. Hi, everybody. So my Future Leaders of World program is a educational film project. But my W-2 job that pays child support and my bills, yes, I do pay child support. Never miss the payment. I'm actually the guy who comes in the room with your test results. You've tested positive for HIV, you understand that. So my why is, I don't want to be doing that anymore. It's why we formed Flow. I've told 293 young people that diagnosis. I'm sick of doing it. So my why is, I hope, in a sense, more so the parents can get a little more knowledge, a little more self-efficacy, so that you can handle, because I use that word handle. I have a 17-year-old daughter and I'm going crazy. But I'm hoping that the why is that you can get something a little bit today to help empower you to keep your kids on track, so that they don't end up giving shots, they don't end up in my clinic with a diagnosis.
Thank you, sir. My next panelist.
My why is totally wrapped up in my experience, and I was telling her I'm the total opposite of her experience. And I'm going to say in front of these guys, I wrote it, it's in a book, it's public, I ain't got no one to worry about. But I was the opposite. I led a gangster disciple in Chicago. I manipulated girls, pimped them out. But all through all of that, I knew that there was something that was different. As much as I would pimp them out, I would say, hey, you're not ready tonight, let's come back tomorrow. No other pimp does that. Right? As much as I'm giving you a schedule to go on the block, I see you had baby mama problem, and I'm like, I can't put you on the block because the rest of the GED is going to have a problem if a Latin king pass you. All of these things were different things that could have been used for positive, but the atmosphere and the culture led it to negative. And my why is putting it in a book and giving it into the hands of young people. So I'm like you, I'm kind of like, oh boy, Dr. Brooks, we don't talk because all the young people left and I brought gifts for them. But one of the reasons is as well, as a coach, right? I help people to tap into what Dr. Sherry talked about is you can't love others, you can't give unto others until you truly identify who you are. And therapy helped me with that. And since then, I've been a servant to the community and God has just done wonderful things. So my why is wrapped up into the journey.
Thank you so much. Our next panelist.
Hi, I'm Gloria again. My why is mainly because I have lived experience in domestic violence while dating as a teen. So my why is mainly because I really don't want anyone, no matter how old you are, I don't care if you're an adult, or if you're like a child, a teen, it doesn't matter. I don't want anyone to ever feel like how I felt. I was in a very, very dark place, and no one talks about the lack of support when you are going through these things. People are just sitting in your ear, oh, don't talk to him, oh, don't do that, don't do this, but where is the actual support? Where does everyone come in to actually sit down and talk to you and ask you, why are you staying with this person? Because they're missing that part. You're not just staying with this person because, yeah, you like them beating on you. Like, that's, no one wants to stay with someone that's constantly beating them. So it's like, you're with this person because there's a different side of them that you see that no one else sees. Outside of the fact that they're beating on you and stuff like that, you fell in love with this person, or you just have some kind of attachment issues to this person. Like, I have a lot of attachment issues. So most of the time it wasn't even about love. It was just that connection, like having someone be there for me when no one else wasn't. So my why is mainly because I never want anyone to think that because although this person is beating on you, that you have to stay with them because they were there for other times. Because there's gonna be other people there for you. You have support. So I'm just here to be like self-advocacy and help them kind of express their feelings and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Good afternoon, everyone. John. Instead of saying Officer Guzman, just for me, when I myself a bit. My why is simply, trying to help those who can't help themselves. Goes to the point where I think Sarah was making, where sometimes people, I don't want to say women, but people stay in relationships because of dependency, could be financial or physical abuse. When I was growing up, my mother was a victim of domestic violence, so that really put me on to wanting to prevent it from happening. It was a very personal thing for me. It wasn't my father that was doing it. He was never in the picture, but it was somebody that took my mother's part. And so when I was younger, I resolved it in different ways against that person. I've grown and matured, obviously, now I'm a police officer. I handle things different. And ever since I've been a police officer, the best arrests I can make, some of the most fulfilling ones are those domestic violence arrests. Because whether it's a man or a woman receiving the hurt, if it's something that I can help prevent, then, it's something I'm willing to do. So those are some of the most rewarding arrests. Unfortunately, I'll be honest, these arrests happen, and then because of that dependency that happens, they go right back into that same behavior, unfortunately, right? But hopefully sometimes it does resonate and they get out of that cycle. But yeah, that's my why, pretty much helping those who necessarily can't help themselves.
Thank you.
And I don't mean officer, the reason I laughed is, right, Mr. Rogers spoke earlier about, remember, if there's a tassel and the cop comes and the girl have a bruise, or you don't have nothing, you don't know the cop experience.
Yeah.
And because of that, he's not asking no question, because his experience is, his son, mama got people. So now, he is, I got a domestic call, and I'm gonna do my job.
It happens often the way, I forgot who brought up the example, where it'll just be an argument, but the male or the female puts a mark on themselves, and out of extreme caution, we do the arrest just to avoid future violence, right? So unfortunately, when it comes to dating violence, he has a bit more experience, he's more on the protective side as well, but to avoid more violence, it oftentimes does happen. If we see something of a minimal scratch, we'll make the arrest just to avoid from when we leave, you call the cops on me, so I'm gonna beat your ass.
Right. And
That connection, because sometimes the youth listens.
and our last panelist.
My name is Vinny, detective with the Hollywood Police Department. Why I'm here is because my job is to go out and take a lot of interview victims and stuff like that. I hear the same thing over and over again. It's about what they need, what they have. The thing is, to do a lot more success extricating that kind of situation with younger people. When they're 19, 18, 17, sometimes 15, and they come to us, we're a lot better at explaining, like, hey, this isn't right, or identifying like what support they need before they get to that. Once they're in their 40s and they've been dealing with it for 20 years, it's really, really hard to pull someone out of that. And unfortunately, that's when we get called. I don't know about it until they're on police call number 12, and finally someone went to jail, and now I gotta like piece it all together. If we can get into like when they're starting, because it happens when they're 15, 17, whatever it is, it's we're almost stopping behavior for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. As a classroom instructor, former principal and assistant principal, we have as teachers an opportunity to see things differently than parents see them. And I will share a brief experience that leads us right into our first topic of conversation. I noticed in one of my classrooms that this young man had what I felt was an unhealthy attachment to this young lady. Even though I had a seating chart, he insisted that she sit near him. And that was a no, because I run my classroom. So I moved her. But I noticed he took her phone. And the rule in my class is that your phone is in your book bag. Your book bag is placed at the front of the room. There aren't any options with that. And he decided he wanted to go through her phone. And I simply said, bring me the phone. He got up, he brought me the phone, and I put it on my desk. But the look he gave her was one of, this is a problem, and you're going to pay for it. At that point, I knew that there was something going on, although I couldn't prove it. Just that inside feeling as a parent, you know when something's not right. Later on, the following week, he just disappeared. I think he got into some trouble. But you know what? Everything happens for a reason. It allowed her to get away from him. So it goes back to my first question to the panelists. First, I'll make a statement. Teen dating violence is often misunderstood or downplayed. In his mind, he was simply looking through her phone. Why are you making such a big deal of this, Miss Blackshire? I can have my phone. I can have her phone. It's no big deal. So my question then becomes, how do you define it, and what are some of the common misconceptions when it comes to teen violence?
I don't think I actually gave like an introduction. My name is Mario Valsine, registered mental health counselor, experience in youth development, youth programming, as well as counseling in various forms of mental disorders. But with that, I would define it as a reoccurrence of abuse or cycle of abuse for adolescents between the ages of 12 and 18, where physical, emotional, financial highs and lows occur, of manipulation, of control, of intimidation, and I think one of the common misconceptions is, or very thin lines, pieces of like teasing, right? And we talk about it a little bit, it's like the hair pulling, so on and so forth. But I think it's also like in the commentary or that students have between each other, like you're stupid. Because one of the pieces of mental or emotional abuse is the degrading of the individual. And that's where it starts, in these small statements. Yeah.
Right, I'm Renee. I'm the owner of Dipel Health and Wellness, right up the street. You need me at home. So the way that I would look at that is pretty much from the angle of you are seemingly coming off as somebody being protective. That's the way that that young lady might see that, you know, especially out in the streets. She's got this guy to protect her. However, in your classroom, when you looked at that, that was not protection. That was somebody who was hovering over this young woman. And it's an insidious start, but it is the start of many things to come. Taking that phone, this is the person who is always in control and wants to exert that over her at all times. And he wants to let everybody around him know, this is my girl, I'm in control. Taking that phone again can also be another, you know, you can look at it from the angle of, he is possessive, very possessive, not just of her, but anything that is attached to her. And those little signs, again, very insidious, but those are the red flags that oftentimes get missed on the long end. We don't see them until after something catastrophic happens.
Yeah, and it's very, it's important that you say that because that's exactly what I saw. Even through observing them in the hallways, she was attached, and her face, I could tell she did not want him to have her phone, but she lost her voice. She was not able to say no. She felt a sense of, I can't say no, and it was evident all over her face. Does anyone else have a viewpoint on that question?
I just want to ask you a question.
Yes.
We're all going to give the same answer, basically. What ended up happening weeks later, months later with that relationship?
That particular young man got into some serious trouble with drugs and was removed from the school, and I see a totally different 11th grade student. She is no longer the same. My next question, thinking about the scope of, we have a question? Yes.
When I was about 17, 18, 19, 20, I had a friend that was in a physical abusive relationship. And I was friends with the guy as well, who all grew up together. As a young person or young children, mentally, how do you intervene when you're so close to both people? And when I say close, I'm talking, basically, you're not family, but you're basically family because you grew up from your children. And then, because sometimes I try to like, I could say fight back because I'm a fighter, I'm gonna fight back. But then still, mentally takes a toll on the friend of ours, and as a friend of a situation. How can you intervene without, I don't say I was afraid to be retaliated against, but I just felt that I didn't think I did enough. And now she's gone, both of them are gone, but it was for years, And they had 2 children after that. And now
Wow.
one of their sons is dead to violence now, gun violence in the street last night, but I'm originally from Boston. So how was as a young person, like, let's say he's my friend and he's or I'm his friend, how can I mentally help him? Or what tools can I use as a mentally, because sometimes it affects you too.
I think culturally, we can't make excuses for being, right? Or like we can't engage in, we can't make things permissible. Because it wouldn't be permissible for someone to lay hands on anyone else, right? It wouldn't be permissible for someone to call you out of your name. It's not permissible to degrade and speak to another individual in a way that brings about disrespect and lowers their self-esteem. So I think first and foremost, and even like other parts of art that can exist within Black and brown cultures, right? I don't know if you've ever heard this. Maybe the older generation has. It's like, you have a daughter in the house, hey, your uncle's coming over, go put clothes on, right? And there is a piece of, right, when you have guests put clothes on, but also if you have concerns about that uncle being around your daughter, maybe he shouldn't be around your daughter, right? So I think you can't make excuses for certain behaviors. And the other piece of actually wanting to help, there are listed community resources. And I think first and foremost is we want safety. Before anything, like what's a safety plan you guys can come up with? I did a training yesterday on EBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. A major portion of that is validating that person's experience. And before you can get someone to a physically safe space, they need to feel emotionally and mentally safe. And the first thing you can do is validate their experience of what's going on, how hard it is, how they got here, right? It's not for you to understand, it's just for you to be there. And I think that's the place to start.
For sure. Yeah, that's great. Great points. And I think you showing up and being here today is already a huge step that you're taking to helping out these friends and families, right? Because like we said, Black and brown cultures, I didn't know what I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know until it happens or until somebody tells you. after the fact or as it's happening. And so education is, it's key. And then I think what Dr. Plankton mentioned earlier today, those conversations that we have in the home, not just go put on your clothes, you're almost coming, it's what's the why behind it. Let me explain to you my concerns, what's our action plan, what's our safety plan, what are we doing in that situation. So I know when it hits home, it's harder because we're hyper-focused, and I know when it's hit home with me, with close friends and family members, I have to remember, okay, I'm not their therapist, I'm their friend, I'm their family member, because I want to jump in and rescue and say, do this, don't do that. Here, these are the signs, educate. And oftentimes when that person's not in that position to listen, they're not going to hear it at that moment. But what has helped is just saying, hey, I got you, you need me, right? I'm here to support you. Let's go out for a walk. Let's go out for coffee. What does, like you mentioned, Dorian, what does support look like, right? Support isn't just, don't do that, don't date that person because they're wrong for you, but what avenues are we providing them? Are we showing them or teaching them, this is what a healthy relationship looks like, right? This is what it looks like.
I'm glad you said you are not their therapist. This is the role you're playing at this time, because there are times when you really have to ask that individual, how do you want me to show up for you? That is a difficult place to be, and you may not necessarily be prepared for that answer. I remember a friend of mine was dying, and of course, being medical, I wanted her to choose the medical side where I could give her all the information she needed and she could make these decisions. And when I asked, how do you want me to show up for you? She says, be the friend you've always been, be the prayer warrior you've always been. And I'm pointing to the medical side and I'm trying to get her to go that route, but that was not what she needed in that moment. So there are going to be times when our family members are in the middle of this throw, and these are your two friends, and both of them, you love them dearly. However, you really need to have that one-on-one conversation about how to show up. In spite of how you feel, you know the cops should be called right this minute, but is she ready to leave that situation? Because many women are not. But what you can do, now that you are aware of the situation, after you've asked how to show up, then you can provide resources in a way that doesn't even look like you're providing resources. You could just throw out a couple of things. Domestic violence hotline, if you feel unsafe, make sure that this is the next step that you're taking. So you give them that resource, but understand that they may not be ready to take on anything that you're saying.
Can I add to that? Being a survivor, my family alienated me because of it. And when they were supposed to be my support system, they were supposed to be there, but because they kept telling me, just leave, just leave, just leave, that was digging deeper into the situation. So what you said, just being there, I just needed them to be there, because the people who did tell me that, I always had them in the back of my head of my escape plan. Oh, I'm gonna call such and such, because I know that that person told me that they were gonna be there for me. And that's how I was able to escape.
And I like the fact that you said they were supposed to be there, but how do they know they're supposed to be there?
Yeah.
From the Caribbean, I'm a Jamaican woman, I can tell you this, we've always been taught, leave family out of your business.
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, other people here will say that. Your wife and husband business does not belong on the street, so to speak. So the family may not necessarily jump in right away and say, hey, what's good? Let me pull up, right? They're going to take that isolation look. It might just be them kind of taking that hands-off approach until they are invited in the situation. And when they are invited, I want you to be okay with any consequence that happens. Because if my daddy's pulling up, he's a cop, he's a cop, he's a cop. If my daddy's pulling up, husband is going to be in serious issues. We're going to have some problems. Because I can handle myself. We're going to say what we can say, and we're going to fix this between the two of us. then if there's, you know, need to go outside, maybe a bestie. But if I'm calling daddy or mommy, oh baby, we got problems today. There's no fixing. Because once I make that delineation and said I'm going outside of my house, yeah, it's different. Yeah.
I think if we cultivate spaces of safety, right?
Yeah.
Just cultivate a safe space of safety of being there. And you don't always have to say something. I think sometimes you want to have the right words. And not just in this very particular instance of like intimate partner violence or teen partner violence, teen dating violence. In situations you can grief, right? Loss. Sometimes we really want to say the right thing. We want to be there. We want to help because we have good hearts, and that's a beautiful thing. But sometimes you just gotta be silent, and in that silence, they will tell you what they need. Sometimes that silence may be awkward, but if you sit quietly long enough, they will tell you what's on their mind and on their heart, and how tired they are, how frustrated they are, how they do want to weigh out. They just don't know how.
Exactly.
Also be like, you should also be in a space to have those tougher conversations, because sometimes people need to hear that. Everyone is not always, be patient with them, just wait. Sometimes people need those tougher conversations. Sometimes they need to hear those words where it's like, okay, listen, it's getting to that point where we're all worried about you and we want to support you, but I cannot sit here and support you knowing that there's something like this bad going on with you and I feel helpless. I'm on the outside looking in, like, I've been on both sides. I've been the victim, and I've been outside where I've seen, like, my friends actually dealing with it after they see me go through it. And it hurts me, like, a lot. Like, I'll see my friends go through things that I've already went through. And it's like, did you not learn from me? Did you not see this from me? But it's not my place to say that. I'm here to be supportive. But I'm also gonna be supportive in a sense where I'm gonna let you know, listen, like, it's getting to that point. We have to have this conversation because I don't want to see you either dead or someone around you dead, or I don't want to see you in a place that you can never get out of. I don't want to see you so down to the point where even as much support as I can give, sometimes you can give all the support that you can, and that's not enough because that person is so stuck in that space where it's going through one ear and out through the other. You're there for them, you're staying with them, every conversation you're having with them, you're taking them out, you're being a friend, you're being supportive, you're being a family member. But it's not enough because they're so stuck in that place. So you have to be mentally prepared to have those tough conversations. And he said, like, I heard you say something about, not having the right words. Sometimes it's never about having the right words because you can know exactly what to say, and that's not how it comes off towards that person. Because everyone doesn't take things in how you want them to take things in. Kind of like if you send a text, it's not how you actually said it. So you can either have the right words or you don't have the right words and you're just trying to explain to them what's going on. But that person has to be in that space where they are mentally ready to leave. We're not here to force people to do anything that they don't want to do.
You're
You have to do that, this is what you need to do. That's not our place. Everyone has their own walks of life, and if that's what they want to take, then you allow them to do that. Sometimes people do have to learn lessons. I prefer for them not to because I've been in that place, but sometimes they do have to learn lessons. And when they are ready, like you said, when they are ready, they will come to you and they will let you know, listen, this is what I need from you. This is how you can support me at this moment, and this is how I will be able to get out of this place. Thank you for being a supportive friend. But this is all I need you to do for me at this moment so I can get out of this place. And you have that. You have those conversations with them. You can go back and forth with that friend. If that's how that works for you, you can go back and forth with that friend. But you do have to have that conversation with them where it's like, yeah, I have to have this conversation with you. And if being on the standpoint of having the friend as well that was the abuser, that was causing harm to my other friend, I look at it as morals and knowing right from wrong. Your friend knows right from wrong. And I always said, I've had guy friends that put their hands on females, and I was like, listen, in order for you to continue to be my friend, I cannot be your friend knowing that you're doing something to someone that has happened to me. I cannot be your friend knowing that you're doing something to someone that I wouldn't want happening to anyone else. Sometimes people have kids and stuff like that. Would you want that happening to your child? You have to have that conversation with a friend too, where it's like, listen, we cannot continue on like this. I cannot have you in my life knowing that you're doing something to someone and it's causing them harm, and I feel helpless on the outside. Like, this is just not something that I can deal with. If you feel like that, that's if you feel like that. You have to let them know, like, listen, this is not, it's not gonna work out. How can I help you to stop doing this? How can I support you to, like, what's going on? Is there some underlying trauma? What resources can I provide for you to stop this? You know, you have to be on both standpoints, if that's how you feel.
I totally agree, which leads me to the next phase. What is the first thing that we think about when we see the color red? Danger. Danger. We all have that little internal something that tells us, this is not what should be happening right now. I can't understand why I feel this way. I don't know why, but I simply know this does not feel correct. It doesn't feel right. So it takes me to my next question. Those subtle and obvious red flags. What are the early signs of knowing that you are in an unhealthy relationship? That this is just not working? Yes.
I'm gonna jump out on that one, right? As a facilitator that teaches men, right? And I'm glad you go there, right? A lot of men don't see red. We see brown. So the reason I'm starting there is that it goes back to knowing who you are. Because the moment your belly feels something, it doesn't matter where you come from, what you look like, or what. The moment your belly feels something, it is your God-given instinct saying to stop. So whether you see blue, green, black, white, this is why I don't want to stick on red. Because most men will not tell you they don't see red, they see brown, and they won't say it. But to them, if you say red, they're thinking of red. I don't want you to think red. I want you to think of your instinct. The moment your belly goes, oh, you need to go. Hold on. Doesn't matter where you're from, right? So the unhealthiness comes in. I look at it in sports. I look at it in food. Anything that does not bring any beneficial to your lifestyle needs to stop immediately. So if I'm a friend that comes into your life and you feel like you're spending more time with me and not doing any work, you need to stop. You need to check. Hey, Pete, hold on. It's as simple as that. And the reason for that is everybody was created differently. We were called for similar things. So although the journey might look the same, it's going to be off. And I'm the one speaker that says, I don't see one way for all, and that's why I'm glad you went red. Because I can tell you there's probably a man in here who's seen it brown and not going to say it that way. You have to go with your God-given feeling and talent, because God will tell you. And that's why I like you when you give the explanation of the instinct. Everybody get that feeling of this ain't right. It's like shopping. I like to use shopping. If you're shopping and you doubt it, don't buy. Yeah, but you know when you buy that go. Even when you have to register, you're still going. How much of those items you use? How many of those clothes you wear?
None.
They go right back to Salvation Army, or you call a friend, or you re-gift it. It's the same thing with your life. The moment somebody comes in, you need to start check, you need to start. But it goes back to teaching. We're not teaching our kids that. We're not teaching. I remember that hit me right there. I remember when he's in middle school, picked him up one day, and it's our story. One of his white friends run up, little girl, and she's hugging him. This is the first time he's seeing him hug another girl, but she's white. Now I don't know where he get this from, because I don't teach this in the household, but he shunned her. Guys, I've jumped out of that car like it was a convertible. That's how much, and it wasn't a convertible, that's what I'm saying. I jumped out of it and it was a convertible. Because I called the little girl, because there's friends watching, and so those are the little moments that we don't stop to do in the moment teaching. I stopped the little girl and I called her back. I said, come here. He don't know what's going on. I said, come here. I said, you need to give her a hug. And he's looking at me like, I said, you need to hug her because you turned down a hug in front of everybody for no reason, not knowing what she's going through. But I know it's because it's me why you turned down a hug. But I'll let you know it's okay. On the way home, he said that I really didn't know how we were going to feel about it. It goes back to us as parents. We see it with a... And now we have this communication. I can tell him, if he feels it in my belly, I know, because he's going to say, Dad. And I'm going to say, what happened? So it comes back to your individual self. You have to know who you are, because what goes for me, goes for me.
just real quick before we move. We talked a lot about like jealousy and like grooming and all that. And I think those are all great points. We haven't talked much about like, when I say stalking, everyone's like, oh yeah, that's bad. But we don't understand like what stalking is. We like to share our phones for protection and all that, our locations and all that. There's a lot of times when that just leads to problems. That just leads to so much. People think it's cute and they show up unannounced with flowers. And yeah, it sounds cute in the right situation. But there's a lot of times it's not cute. It's predatory being disguised as cute. And it's not okay. So that's a red flag that I think we need to identify.
Are you talking in a new relationship?
New, old, any of them. Like any of them. There's a lot of like, so there's times when sometimes people break up, say they're together for 5 years, whatever. I move out, they show up on their door with flowers, trying to like build a relationship again. No, like that kind of stuff. It starts off small. It can start off like little, but it builds into, it builds into that.
We call that love bombing, right?
Yes.
And oftentimes, we don't realize that love bombing can turn into abusive, right? Or toxic. Because we're like, oh, and sharing my personal experience, oh, it's cute. He showed up unannounced with flowers, with food. I missed you so much. I wanted to get you food because I knew you were hungry. Awesome, that's cute. Or I'm going out with some friends, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, just wanted to say hi. I ordered you a drink. Have fun with your friends. Oh, okay, cute, right? That love bombing, right? That's one subtle sign that we talk about when it comes to not just teen dating violence, but and also when things escalate quickly. Today I'm buying you flowers or I'm showing up with your friends, and then a week later I'm saying, I love you. Like, I want to be with you. We have to be together. So that's a huge red flag. Everything is moving very quickly. And so once it's moving very quickly, sometimes we might not pick up on it, or maybe we come from a household where we're like, oh shit, like, I like this feeling. This feels great, right? Because at home, mom's working all day. Dad's an alcoholic, so I'm not getting those flowers or that new outfit, or somebody that says, you're hungry, let me come feed you. So now I'm here like, I like this person because they're giving me that love and attention, right? Right, what we were sharing with the financial abuse, it's somebody's giving you that attention and that love bombing. So one acronym that I like to remember is LACK. That's one acronym that helps me to understand, and we teach a lot of teens. When you're in a relationship, think of LACK. Love bombing, if that happens, because sometimes it might not be love bombing, but it could be. If you form an attachment with that person and that attachment is sealed, right? And I know we're probably going to talk about trauma bonding and the whole 9 yards, right? One example that I like to give with my teens is, well, my partner got cheated on, and so that's why they're controlling and possessive. So now I got to make sure that I don't mess up so that they don't get all in their feelings. So then that's C, the control. Love bomb, attachment, and control. And that cycle repeats itself. Very similar to domestic violence, right? You have the honeymoon phase. I'm sorry, babe, I'm sorry I did that. I'll change, I promise. We go back, walking on eggshells, the explosion. It's very similar. For teens, it's a little bit different because we might not see it like that, right? We might normalize it, or we might say, oh, they're just acting like that because they're teens, right? We minimize that, and I think that's another big issue.
It is.
We minimize relationships. I know when I dated as a teen, my family was, oh, your little friend, right? It wasn't my boyfriend. It was, oh, you and your little friend. So they didn't take my relationship serious. So why would I share what's going on in my relationship if they're just my little friend, not my boyfriend, or somebody that I'm building this attachment with, right?
I am so very glad that you brought up that aspect of online communication and stalking, because when students or anyone starts to make you feel guilty because you didn't respond to a text. Why didn't you answer my text? I text you. Well, I don't walk around with my phone on me. How can we as parents get our students to detach themselves from this appendage that they feel they can't live without? Because they will scream and have a fit if they don't have that cell phone. How can we get them to detach?
I think what you do is you create moments. So for example, when we're going to school in the morning, no phone. Tell your friends when you get at their 8:50, they could message and, but while we're driving, it's our time. Even if we're listening to the radio, it's our time. So what happens as parents, you have to remember when we were small, we never had that, But with my parents and certain things, we grew up in Jamaica, we never had that. But the moment my parents gone, I got tea out the bag juice. Me take the box juice and chew half in a cup and dash after you want to make a box truck. You can imagine what my mother would have felt if we do half a juice to make a box truck. So it was times different. So I think as parents, we just need to create the moment. The social media is not going anywhere, we don't control it. You just got to create the moment so they learn the value in what the actual relationship is as a parent.
And I'm glad you said that as well, because those moments of conversation is what's lacking with our students. We're not having those conversations, and we're not having those opportunities to just sit and listen. Sometimes it's that quiet moment where you just listen. Yes?
Yes. When I used to live in Texas, my sister had this rules for her kids. No cell phones at the dinner table. She had a little basket in the corner. Everybody, when we were going to eat, everybody's phone had to go in that basket until the dinner was over. Then we had to communicate. We had to talk to each other. And I think that is what is lacking now. People do not talk to each other. You're sitting and you're having dinner or something. Even in the living room, we're sitting. Everybody head is down. Nobody has time to communicate with each other anymore.
Right.
It is lacking. Communication is lacking. Very much lacking. People don't talk to each other anymore. Everybody is on the phone. We live in the same house and people texting each other on the phone.
Exactly.
I would say I'm from Jamaica and we grow with just a look. And we have to get it right. Just a look. They didn't have to beat us, nothing like that. Just a look.
I grew up in Alabama. Yes.
You better get it straight.
Exactly. I can relate to that.
I want to add to that.
Yes.
If you think about, I know we mentioned psychological, financial, emotional abuse. We also have digital abuse, right? And I love that we have boundaries and we're setting those boundaries, but it's also good as parents or caregivers, like understanding how does that translate? Because sometimes our fear is, and I've seen it with a lot of parents that bring their kids to therapy and they say, oh, they could only go on the phone for 30 minutes and it's password protected and I take it away here and I do that there. And I'm like, that's great and all, but guess what? How many of us have gone on a diet and said, you can't have a hamburger for the whole entire diet? And we're like, oh, I want a burger, or I want this, we want it more. So now we're eliciting a behavior of secrecy. And that's dangerous because now we're like, we got the teen hiding, we're sneaking in a phone,
No,
we're not even a phone.
That would be just for the dinner table. That wouldn't be like taking the phone completely away. I'm talking like sitting at the table and we're a family. We should communicate with each other.
You engage that open communication, which is great, yeah.
In that family moment where we can communicate with each other.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think that's great. No, I didn't mean it like against it. I think it's great.
What you're saying.
Open communication. It's just sometimes, it's just having that balance,
Sometimes
right?
people live in the extremes, I'm assuming is what you're pointing out to. I think in both cases of the car ride or dinner table, what you're speaking to is let's teach and create an understanding of how important being present is, right? Because we have to, and we also have to explore, right? They're on their phones because they receive some form of gratification. It validates something inside of them, right? And whatever it is, we have to have an understanding of that and be willing to explore. Can we produce that in your daily life, right? Will I make time to, if you are watching basketball, will I make time to go to a game or play a game, right? Like, will I do these things so that you don't have to only experience it through a screen?
Yes.
Sometimes we make the mistake of creating isolation or ignorance, right? And we're talking about bonding without technology. But it's also being able to bond in the moment of the communication, right? You can talk. The talk doesn't mean nothing, you're just talking, right? But how are you creating that atmosphere where you can really bond with your child? How can you bond with another person where they're comfortable enough to tell you what is going on in your life? Where you can be comfortable enough to see the subtle changes. Like I'm experiencing a person right now who has made subtle withdrawals of life, which means there's something going on in their life that they don't want to tell anyone. But you have to be able to watch enough, be around the person enough, be present enough in the moment to see when subtle things are changing, to catch it, like you said, in the beginning stages. Because you don't want to wait 10 years down the road And you realize, wow, you've been going to the hospital a whole lot of times. I don't understand what's going on. Or now you realize something drastic has happened. You want to catch it from the beginning stages. So it's not just isolation and taking away things. It's about bonding with the person so that you can catch any signs of it.
Ex-
My commissioner from Sunrise.
That's my commissioner.
Yes, you have a question?
That kind of correlates with what you were saying. I forgot who said it. About save, like people feel safe, right? But you have to get them to before a physical location, like mentally, right? And like I feel as though people are gonna bond with others, or more likely to bond with others when they feel like they can trust them and they feel like they can. It's gonna be like a judgment-free space, and they are able to relate with them, and there's a mutuality there, you know. I don't know. It was just something that I was thinking about as you were just talking right now. That kind of relates with. I believe it was you that was talking about.
Yes, to bond with someone, you have to trust them, right? Like you wouldn't be in the room with a serial killer, right? Like it just wouldn't happen. If you don't trust it, you're gonna stay alive, right? So, and I know it's extreme, but with your kids, do they trust you? Do they trust that you have their emotional well-being in mind? That you aren't going to criticize them, that you aren't going to minimize their experiences or how they're feeling? Do they trust you enough to say not only the silly thing of I did a backflip today, which seems completely unimportant, or do they trust you enough to say that as well as, hey, I got into a fight with someone?
Let me give you a good one. Or, Daddy, you're the one that's okay with us doing wrong things.
Right?
Do they trust you enough to call, like, to say that, hey, this behavior that you want me to do, you don't do?
One of the things that, to go back to what she was saying, is that in our younger children, they don't find in professional world, like in school and inside the home itself, they don't have that trust and support and confidence to approach someone, and it's missing a lot in our communities, like in our churches and in our schools, because that would open up the door for them to feel comfortable and talk about issues like this that are so intimate, so touchy. So we have to create an environment in the home, in the schools, in churches, in community after-school programs, that young people feel like they're respected, they're supported, and they trust, but most importantly, they have confidence in you, that what they're telling you lies within you.
I agree. I think sometimes as parents, we do not mirror the behavior that we're expecting from our children. We're not accountable, and they see that all the time. We can't keep our mouths because they hear us gossiping about the other family member. And how am I going to be living in this house? I see what you claim to be on the outside world. You sitting on a podium, on a panel, I see what you are portraying to the others out there, but I live with you. And in Jamaica, we have this saying, sitting and living with me are two different things, right? Seeing me and coming to live in my home will be two different things, because I am two different persons. And that's what our children are realizing majority of the time. We have this cute mask on for what everybody else sees outside. And then we get home and we pull this bad boy off. And we are just not people who are nice.
You know, we have something similar. I'm from Alabama, and I can hear my grandmother saying, the term meant you see one side, but there's another side.
Yeah.
You know, I'm showing you what I want you to see, but then there's another side when the door is closed. And they're watching, children watch everything you do and listen to half of what you say. They watch everything you do and listen to half of what you say. But what I'd like to end with is I'd like our law enforcement officers to share some things with us. What legal protections exist for teens experiencing dating violence, and how can law enforcement take steps to actively affect change without discouraging victims from seeking help?
So we have several ways to go. My way being that I'm on the road more and I'll see it more directly, I have to be a bit more forward with the way that we can go about it. He goes a bit more in the background of things, so he has a bit more of an investigative side. My end would be a conversation that I would have often with domestic violence victims. It's showing them the ugly side of what it can turn into. Because it begins with a segue of just a simple shove or a hair pull or speaking disrespectfully in public. Right? That's a big red flag. If you're willing to disrespect a woman or a man in front of his peers, in front of strangers, it's probably going to lead to nastier things within the home. So sometimes we go to calls where it's just verbal, right? We call it 38 feet is what it's considered, 38 verbal, meaning that it's just two individuals that are in a domestic partnership that are having an argument. It's not illegal to argue whether you're in public or whether you're in private. It's not illegal. Now, what does that argument bring forth in the future, right? Because if this argument was just verbal and I'm cursing at you and disrespecting you, if you allow me to do that and you continue in this relationship with me, I'm probably going to do it worse the next time we get into an argument, right? So what I like to explain is if it begins with a simple disrespectful word, the next time I come to your house for a 38V, it's probably going to turn into a 38 physical, right? Because they're probably going to begin to escalate. All this behavior is learned. If I'm in a relationship with a female and I disrespect her and she allows it, and she stays in this relationship with me, that means that she's willing to endure more, probably. So that's what the abuser sees. What I like to say, just to keep it short, what I like to show is I've been to calls where it began as a 38 verbal. Several months down the line, it turns into now I'm arresting the husband, gladly, right? And I'll be honest with you, when I come to these calls and I see that they're physical with the female, the main thing I want is for them to be resistant with me, right? And that's, so, you know, they can kind of, whether it's right or wrong, I can give to them what they've been given out as well, right? That's just like maybe that's the trauma in me that I try to impose, right, by making it stop in a certain way. But it will begin with a simple slap, and it can go as far as, again, I've been to 38 verbals where in that same household, I've gone to a murder scene. And I bring up those same exact examples because it's extremely, it happens. It happens. It's not a rare occurrence, and that's my input, being more direct. I show them the ugly side. You know, with him, they'll be able to have a bit more of a longer discussion and show, well, we have the hotline that you can come to. We have women in distress that you can also reach out to. We have counselors. I don't have that much time because I probably got to go to my next call.
Yeah.
So I got to just show you, look, you're starting off with a red bruise, but you could end up with a couple of gunshots.
Thank you.
I wanted to add on that culturally things are slightly changing, not big enough. But on the law enforcement side and the judges and everybody, it's gotten so much better. Now, I live in Broward, but I work in Miami-Dade. At Miami-Dade, we have Project Thrive. It's led by Catherine Wendell Fernandez, the state attorney, and it's a system in place for all help for human trafficking survivors. And it's all for free, and it's lifetime medical care. Like, we provide medical care at the University of Miami. So in the past, when I worked at the detention center, and I'm testing a young lady that was picked up for prostitution charges, that's what happened. They went through the judicial system. Now it's geared now to Project Thrive, where they're given shelter and assistance and can go to a new state and get free medical care. So I wanted to paint the picture of there is a little more hope now. We are getting better at this. We've still got a long way to go, but there are things in place. So for instance, you know, we need to maybe spend more time on the skills and how you can handle situations, but the resources are there now. Maybe not after what happened January 20th, but for now, they're there.
Well, you know what? I think that this event today opened the doors for additional conversations. And I want to take the time to thank all of you who made it a priority to be here today. It is a wonderful experience. It's an awesome opportunity to talk and discuss. And we will have several others where we will have an opportunity to do this again. So I will turn this back over. Yes?
Madam Moderator, I would hate to do this because the children left, but is there any child in here 18 and under? Because I had a little thing, I want to give a youth a book and also free coaching. Is she a lady? You can come and grab it. But officer, you got to get one, sir. You got to read that. You got to read that.
Thank you.
Young lady, come and grab it.
I'm young at heart.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, man, I love the story, man. Yeah, look, we're gonna have to connect. I don't have any more, but we can connect.
Everybody feeling?
Oh, a matter of fact.
Great.
Hold on, if you don't mind, right? Yeah. Jesus said, feed the children. This young man filled out one of the surveys.
Oh, definitely.
I can get you up.
Yeah, man, no
Come here,
worries.
sir.
Yeah.
Now, the young, come carry for the kids. Here you go. I got you.
So we're feeling good? Yes. So today we heard some stories that were riveting, that were jarring, that were enlightening, and we had conversations that created new awareness. Right? You agree? Yes. Good. So we've gained some knowledge that has empowered us. And you know the old saying, it goes, now you know better, so you do better. Say it again. Now you know better, so you do better. Good. And doing better is taking this information and sharing it as far and wide as possible. Taking this information and applying it to your life and making sure that you are the beat to the drum of the young people in your life. And what is that beat to the drum? That you believe them every time they say that there's an issue. That you believe them the first time they say that person touched them inappropriately. That you amplify their voice because their voice is not always heard. The teacher, the principal, even the family member, the mother may not hear them when they speak. If they took time to come to you, you are that safe person. You are the person that they trust. Your responsibility is to amplify their voice. Oh, I skipped. I went from B to A. Sorry. E, educate them and empower them. Explain to them that what happened to them was not their fault. That it should not have happened to them, that they deserve better. Validate their existence. And then A, amplify their voice. And T, finally, be the transforming element. Be the person who's going to talk their story, who's going to tell their story, who's going to create that opportunity for healing. That's your responsibility today. Everything we learned today came from real life experiences. It wasn't something in a fairy tale. One day you heard my story. But I had other individuals come to share their work because it's important so that we see different faces, different genders, different ethnicities, different ages, going through these things and having experience and sharing what we should do to prevent it from happening to others. So today, I ask you again, be sure to take what you've learned and impart it to others, because our job here at Unmute Yourself is to disrupt every cycle of interpersonal violence. And the fact that you came here on a Saturday tells me, and you stayed this long, tells me that you follow the same beliefs. You stand with us in this journey of ending interpersonal violence, ending gun violence, ending teen dating violence, ending human trafficking, ending domestic violence. Parents, talk to your children. Ask the hard questions. And listen, it is not always your job to fix. There are authorities, not just authority as a police department, right? But there are authorities that are in place, in position to fix. We have therapists, right? We have people who know what they're doing and can employ the correct tactics to help the situation. Sometimes as parents, we make it worse. To the students, whatever youth in the room, find that safe person. Identify the person that you can trust. And make sure you share with them when things feel bad. Pete shared, when you feel that gut feeling, when you know it just doesn't feel right, you're feeling nauseous, find that safe person and have a conversation. And to the advocates, the educators, and leaders, add these tools to your toolkit. The things that we've learned today, the strategies, the resources, add them to your toolkit. Make sure that you're ready and able to present them to those that need the help, when the help is when the cry is made for help. Today cannot be the end of the conversation. It is the beginning. Today is not the end of our relationship, I hope. It's the beginning of new friendships, new collaborations, new interactions, new conversations. The organization, I will have you pull out your phones right now. Those of you that have Instagram, we would like you to follow us on social so we continue this relationship. We have regular conversations. Let me know when your phones are out. We have regular conversations on Thursday evenings. I would love for you to join in with us. Candid conversations around challenges we face with our youth and within our community. We have regular workshops that we host throughout Broward. We are starting our Freedom and Healing sessions on every third Friday. It will be in Plantation. That information you can find if you follow us on social. And those are opportunities again for us to come into these rooms and hear from people with lived experiences, hear from people who've survived traumas and have risen above and are now able to go back and help pull you out of your situation. We want our communities to heal. If you don't know it, now you know. We are all facing PTSD because we all survived COVID. We are, right? If you didn't know it, now you know. That might answer some of your questions of, well, why do I feel like this? Why am I having anxiety when I go out? Yes. We have varying forms of PTSD, and we all need a level of healing. We all need an opportunity to share in a safe space and acquire that peace in our life. So I invite you to follow us, unmute yourself, INC, on Instagram, and come and attend more of these events. I thank the panelists for coming out today and sharing and giving your expertise, your lived experiences, your training. All of it was very, we received it well, and we thank you for sharing. We appreciate you coming in and sticking around, officers. Thank you very much. And for you, the audience, I thank you again for coming out and deeming this important enough for you to spend your Saturday morning into afternoon with us. I thank you for valuing the work that we do. And we ask you now, there will be, put it on the board. There's a QR code that is out front that I need you to sign before you leave, to scan in and respond. If you don't do that, I don't get the opportunity to hold more of these 3 events. Say it again. If you don't respond to the survey, give me your feedback, and share about your experience, I cannot justify going to the government, the funders, the cities, municipalities, asking them to provide funds for us to come here and do these things. I want to do more. This is not the only one. I want to take this on tour. And I need you to give the feedback so that we can do that. Okay? So please. And when you do your survey, you get a prize. You get a gift, a goodie bag of tons of stuff to take home. So I thank you again. So we can line up and head out in a few. But I thank you again for coming today. I thank you for spending time.